What's going on, guys? Coming at you with another video. This time we're doing something a little bit different. It's gonna be I don't want to call it a reaction video, but yeah, I guess a reaction video where I take basically video essays and watch them and debate parts that I take issue with or agree with, and just kind of put my 2 cents on it. For the first video, we're going to be using Gone Freaks, a dark coming of age story, Hunter x Hunter character analysis by O'Hara. Once again, this is your spoiler warning. I'm throwing spoilers in here. If the video's probably gonna have spoilers, and yeah, if you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back and let's get to it.
What makes Gon such a controversial protagonist? On the surface, Hunter x Hunter, Yoshihiro Togashi's long-running magnum opus, is a standard shonen story. Each story arc focuses on a well-worn shonen trope, such as a training sequence or a tournament arc, things that Togashi has covered before in his series Yu Yu Hakusho. But where Hunter x Hunter fundamentally differs from the status quo is the way that it takes these formulas and then breaks them apart in interesting ways before once again returning to its shonen roots. In a 2018 interview with Weekly Shonen Jump magazine, Togashi revealed that with Gon, he originally planned to create a sort of good boy type of character that would, and I quote, win every character I would want for a son competition. But as soon as he started writing his story, he immediately realized that this sort of character would not fit the story he had envisioned at all. After all, what type of good boy would lightheartedly and without so much as a second thought abandon his foster mother to become a hunter and then search for his father who left him behind as a child just to follow his own selfish path?
So, okay, here, this is one of my biggest pet peeves that a lot of people always claim about Gon. Oh, he's selfish. Like, his claim is Gon wanting to leave his little island home, whatever, is selfish. How is that selfish? Like, please, like, explain it. It's the stupidest statement. Like, it really irritates me when people say this. Ever since that Alexander video, it's like everybody views Gon through this selfish lens. No, Gon wanted to become a hunter because he met Kite and he was curious about his father. Like, what is wrong with that? How is that selfish? Like, it's ridiculous to even call that selfish. And then he's all like, oh, without thinking twice about it, it's an anime. Like, 9 times out of 10, this is the standard shonen anime main character type. They just do things, they're headstrong, and they know their way. Like, I don't understand, but I digress. Let's keep going. Like, okay, here. Nobody calls Naruto selfish for wanting to bring Sasuke back to the village. And you're like, well, why is that selfish? Let me tell you why it's selfish. First of all, Sasuke chose to leave the village. Nobody forced him. Nobody, like, he wasn't kidnapped. He chose. Second of all, he left the village peacefully. It was in the middle of the night, quiet. He didn't hurt anybody. Sakura got in his way. He knocked her unconscious. That's it. It was a clean escape. He was going on to live his life. His goal was to get strong enough to kill his brother. That's got nothing to do with Naruto. And then, in comes Naruto. All as usual, getting in other people's business and, enforcing his will and his view of the world on this other person and forcing them to do what he wants them to do. So, and he literally quotes and says this to Sasuke when they're fighting. He's like, I'm going to break your arms and legs and drag you back to the village if I have to. So literally, like, I want you in the village. You're my friend. You don't get a say in this. You're coming back to the village, whether you like it or not. And nobody calls Naruto selfish for this. But, oh, heaven forbid Gon wants to go find his father. Oh, now he's selfish. Okay, whatever. But we'll keep it moving. Let's get back to the video.
And so it was at that point, back in 1998, when the series published its very first chapter, that he decided to try something a little bit different. He He came to the conclusion that the traditional tropes of shonen manga would not work for the world he was about to create. And so he decided to twist the general perspective on the genre in a number of unimposing, but at the same time highly impactful ways. As a result, Gon is not your classic all-good, all-powerful shonen hero, but rather a realistic version of it that has to face real consequences for his actions within the story world that Togashi has thrown him in. Thus, he has become one of the most controversially discussed shonen protagonists in history.
There's absolutely nothing controversial about Gon. All the real G's know what he's about, who he is. One of the greatest protagonists in anime history, period. The only thing controversial about him is just the irrationalness of his haters. But once again, I digress. Back to the video.
And in this video, I want to explore with you why I believe that it makes Gon one of the most well-written shonen heroes of all time. Before we can dissect how Togashi has designed Gon as a character and what makes his take on the trope of shonen protagonists so unique, we first have to understand the general theme of Hunter x Hunter as a series overall. You might have heard before that the main theme of Hunter x Hunter is morality and exploring the thin lines between good and evil, black and white. And it's undeniably true that morality is a central part of the story's premise. However, I still believe that the actual theme of the story goes even further than this, because the theme, otherwise also known as the moral argument of a story, contrary to common belief, doesn't refer to a general subject matter such as love, class, power, or good versus evil. No, it much rather is the author's view on how to act in the world, and therefore also encompasses a certain moral vision that the author wants to explore throughout his story. Therefore, by definition, I believe that morality as a general concept cannot be the overall theme of Hunter x Hunter, but much rather is a part of it. The actual moral argument that Togashi is exploring in the story, and that he also uses to explore shonen as a genre overall, is what does it mean to be human in a superhuman world? And this overall theme then includes other important questions, such as what does it mean to hold power, and ultimately also, what does it mean to be moral? If you look closely enough, each character in the story is a variation of that theme, and that's exactly what I want to explore with you in this series of videos, and I hope you enjoy watching them just as much as I enjoyed making them. So why start with Gon? Well, Gon is of course the protagonist of the story. However, Hunter x Hunter takes a slightly different conceptual approach to their character web than other typical shonen do. No matter if it's Naruto, Bleach, or One Piece, amidst a usually very well-crafted group of supporting main characters, the hero always stands out clearly as the central focus point of the story. Therefore, Naruto is about Naruto himself becoming Hokage. Bleach is about Ichigo following his destiny as a Shinigami and exploring the supernatural world, and One Piece is of course about Luffy striving to find the One Piece and becoming king of the pirates. But what about Hunter x Hunter? While Gon does have a central desire within his ambition to find his father Jing that is driving the story forward, it is neither particularly intense nor is it very urgent.
What Ohara says right here is definitely true. And honestly, I would say it was probably one of the biggest strengths of Hunter x Hunter in general, is the fact that Gon wasn't like this Naruto type or your standard or like a Deku, where it's like they have this vision and dream that just kind of sucks up the whole room and brings the whole, like all the characters to kind of crowd around him as a character, like where they make them the one and only shining light. Like he had his ambitions, but the other characters' goals and ambitions were like, in general, equally as strong, with Killua's journey to self-worth, trying to figure out who he is. And then with Leorio trying to be a doctor, although that was kind of, they might do something more with that in the future, but that or Rapika trying to get revenge for his fallen brothers in this clan, and then or even the antagonist characters like Hisoka, where he just wants to, his goal is just to fight strong opponents, and he even groomed some of them, as you can see he does with Gon and Killua. So basically, like, in Hunter x Hunter, the MC, the main character, just does not like it's the show doesn't just orbit around him. Like he's not the show, he's a piece of the show. Like he's a piece of the puzzle, you know. And so that's honestly, I think that's what helps make the show much better, you know. And then what made it even cooler is that since it wasn't the pinnacle of the show, like, or the basing, the grounds. Let me not say it's not the pinnacle, but it wasn't the structure of the show, right? Like Gon's desires, that they actually completed that goal like way earlier than you would have expected. Like normally, like with a standard shonen, you probably wouldn't have met Gene till like, I don't know, like chapter 1000. You know, like it's just something ridiculous where by the time you get to the goal, they've milked the show out for everything it's worth, and you kind of lose interest. Once again, greatest example of this is Naruto and Sasuke's last fight and Naruto becoming the Hokage. But yeah, overall, I think he's spot on with that assessment, and let's get back to the video.
The story has no overarching big evil to defeat, no central and important object to be acquired, and no final destination to be reached. Rather than following a straight line towards a major goal, Gon and his friends follow a meandering path without apparent direction. They cover a great deal of territory in a haphazard way and encounter a variety of characters from different levels of society.
So what he gets into here is kind of like an extension of Gon's goal not being a major pillar to the story in a way. Basically, like the story just doesn't have direction, right? So the way you usually get direction in a story is it's a few pillars. You either have an ultimate boss that everyone wants to take down, or the main character has this like super huge goal that is just that kind of sucks up the air out the room of the whole story, you know. So let me do this with examples. So let's say a super huge goal is like a la Naruto wanting to become Hokage, right? Or bring Sasuke back to the village. That's one. The big boss would be, okay, let's say Orochimaru or Madara or something, like just somebody where everybody is understood that we have to stop this guy, like a Aizen, you know, from Bleach or something like that. And then also there's no universal goal, which kind of comes with the big boss or maybe a final destination that he also got into, you know, where everybody in the group has to reach this end goal. Like let's say in Wolf's Rain, I believe it was going to paradise, and it was understood that this is what we're all trying to do. In Naruto, it was stopping Madara, and yeah, you know, and so it was always this linear direction. Whereas with Hunter x Hunter, since it doesn't have any of those pillars with a big boss or a universal goal or a final destination or the main character that has this burning universal goal that everyone has latched on to, you don't know where the story is going to go. And that could be a strength and a weakness, but I feel like for Hunter x Hunter is probably its greatest strength, because eventually as you watch it, you stop caring. Like you're just watching it for each episode. You're watching it for the characters. And like you said, you just kind of meet these characters from all different walks of life. And that's really like what you start watching it for. Like it's not about the big fights. It's not about this nice little crazy plot twist. It's about just watching how everything plays out. So at the end of the day, the real enjoyment for Hunter x Hunter isn't really like the big moments as much as it's the journey. And honestly, it was kind of like I don't know what they call it, like some 3D chess or a world breaker or whatever. But basically within the story, when Gon finally reaches his end goal, his end goal of seeing his father, you can kind of see that Gon kind of had like a apathetic vibe about him. Like, yeah, he was happy to see his dad, but he kind of felt sort of like an emptiness, you know, like an emptiness that most people feel when they reach their final goal. Like, right, you've been striving so hard for this and you reach it and it's like, okay, what now? And also, he had a situation with Killer, and he basically was talking to the guy, and I think he asked him about his experience. I don't remember perfectly correctly. It's been a while since I finished reading the manga and watching the anime, but basically, Gene was just like, look, sometimes in life it's not about the ending as much as it's about the journey, you know, like through all his trips and his adventures, that the things that he remembers the most fondly was the people he enjoyed those experiences with. And that's kind of what he was telling Gon to focus on. And so yeah, that was definitely a dope scene, and it was a perfect moment in a way, because it's like the writer telling us what he meant for the story, and whatever he like, and it worked, because normally I'm the type of person where it's like I need an ending, and the ending makes a story. But for the first time with Hunter x Hunter, I just got done with the story, and I was like, I don't care about the ending. I just want to watch the characters grow. And if this show goes off and into infinity, obviously it's hiatus. But if it had like 20,000 episodes, I'd be perfectly content with that, as long as they, you know, kept the content churning out like they did, and as good as they did with their character, with the way they write the characters and stuff like that. So yeah, all right, back to the video.
At the same time, and in close relation to this, in Hunter x Hunter, the lines between protagonist and ally become very, very thin. So thin even, that it's fair to say that the story has not one, but two protagonists, Gon and Killua, with Gon being only a tad more important. This trope of the buddy story is quite commonly found in Hollywood movies, from stories like The Lord of the Rings, over 21 Jump Street, all the way to pretty much any love story out there being a typical example of this. But it is very, very rare in shonen anime and manga. In a buddy story, in essence, the hero is split into two parts, with one being a bit more relevant than the other, and both main characters having two different backgrounds, two different approaches to life, and two different sets of values and talents. As a result, the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts, and that's exactly what makes the combination Gon and Killua such a strong leading duo. These two protagonists are allies throughout the course of the series, but at the same time also have an overarching conflict of values and actions that gives character development to both of them. So, as you can see, Gon is already fundamentally different from other typical shonen protagonists simply based on his role in the story. His desire to find his father is not particularly intense, and he shares the role of the hero with his buddy Killua.
Over here, he says that Gon shares the role of hero with Killua, and I'm gonna have to push back against that. Like, because I feel for the most part, Gon was the hero throughout most of the story in a way, whereas, I wouldn't even. He was the more positive character. I have a hard time saying hero, but he was the most positive character in the story for the most part, you know, through the bulk of it. Whereas with Killua, like for the majority of the story, for at least 80% of the story, there's no way you could call him a hero. Like, it's just not possible. Maybe you can call him a well-intentioned character with, you know, some deeply rooted issues, but hero, I don't think you could say that. Just mainly because like he didn't really have too many heroic acts. A lot of his acts were, you know, for the most part, it started out psychotic, like he's killing people for like no reason whatsoever. I shouldn't say no reason, but minor reasons. And then you know, his whole upbringing was like as an assassin, so he was kind of basically for most of the time he was working on controlling his impulses rather than taking action. So if something in the world happened around, let's say Killua, like he'd freeze, where Gon would be the one to step up, and then also Killua falls away from the hero role, as far as I can say, because also a lot of times the hero role goes to the more, you know, less logical, let me not say the hero role goes more to the more, to the less logical, the more emotion, the person who really gets you riled up, the rah guy. And Killua was never that. Like, if danger happened, Killua would, you know, he'd run away. That was his whole thing. Like, look, if it's too dangerous, I'm running away. Whereas, you know, Gon, if it's too dangerous, he steps up. So I can't really agree that Killua played a hero role. I mean, he was more of an edgelord throughout most of the series, or, you know, the angsty teenager. Yeah, you could say that. So the hero, I don't think I can put him there, but he definitely developed into that by the end. After spending some time with Gon and taking the needle out his head, during the Chimera Ant arc. By the end of it, he did kind of fall more into the hero role, where he started making more risky decisions and not calculating the cost benefit to every action he would make. So, but that's such a smaller portion of the story that it can't count. So, you can't say that he shares that hero role. But yeah, he's more Sasuke to Gon's Naruto. Although, I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but that's the best way I could put it. So, back to the video.
Who has his very own set of desires and weaknesses, and we will get further into their relationship in the next video. Now, this insight of the split hero can be boiled down even further to one of Hunter x Hunter's major strengths as a story. While many writers believe that all you need is a well-written hero that is the only person that really matters, Hunter x Hunter doesn't live from any individual character, but rather from an intricately crafted web of characters that interact with each other.
I'm gonna have to push back on what he said here, only because for the most part, I do feel like Hunter x Hunter is seen through the eyes of literally just Gon and Killua. I mean, because if you take it from the Hunter exams, they hit it off, and generally, like, yeah, all the characters got some shine and they got some time in, and you got all the motivations, but it still had that vibe of, you could tell like Gon and Killua were the special ones. And then if you take it to like the Heaven's Arena arc, once again Gon and Killua, or after the Hunter exams, they go back to go check on Killua after he had a mental breakdown from seeing his brother. So I mean, literally, like, you can chalk most of the show, at least 80 to 90% of it, to Gon and Killua. Because once again, even with the Chimera Ant arc, you're mainly following Gon and Killua. I mean, Kurapika and Leori weren't even in that arc. Take it even further. I mean, I guess the one time that they finally, I guess get away from Gon and Killua centric, I'd say, is probably in the manga on the boat when they're on the way to the Dark Continent. Like, it really gets Kurapika focused, or maybe even the election arc. It definitely got Leorio a lot of shine. I mean, so just really on the back end. And then I guess if you want to say during the Phantom Troop, but even then it still felt a little bit, I mean, it's been a while since I watched it, but it felt a little bit Gon and Killua centric with a whole lot more Kurapika. But yeah, but I'd say 70% of the show is, I'm gonna lower it to 70%, but 70 to 80% of the show is Gon and Killua centric. But I do get what he's saying. But generally, the writing doesn't depend on them. But from what has been written already, it's definitely like they are the moving. They both of them are the heartbeat of the show, and it shows in their popularity too. So okay, back to the video.
As a result, the main group of protagonists move the plot along, but they don't carry it all by themselves. And thus, every single character that Togashi introduces helps to define those around them. So now that we've looked at the general premise for Gon's role in the story, and how it differs from conventional shonen heroes, let's finally talk about his character arc. At the beginning of the story, Gon is the stereotypical shonen poster boy. Young, plucky, irrepressible, spiky hair. In the first 20 or so episodes, he's basically Son Goku without the tail. He's seemingly nothing but good-natured, and depending on your preference as a viewer, his simple and pure attitude was probably either incredibly charming or almost intolerable to watch.
Definitely hit the nail on the head with this one. I mean, I would, like, for me personally, I'd say in the beginning of the story, Gon's character, I wouldn't say it was intolerable. But he definitely just seemed a little too stereotypical. But I mean, even in the beginning, it definitely gave you vibes that, like, hey, this isn't standard. Like, I mean, it took a minute. It was a gradual increase, but you could kind of notice in the beginning, like, where people would die around him, and like, he wasn't up in arms, or like, you can kind of tell, like, he was kind of only really, he was focused on his group. He wasn't morally preaching to people. So, but those things did stand out. But definitely, yeah, in the beginning, he was he was definitely my least favorite of the 4 main characters in the beginning. So back to the video.
His main desire is to find his father Jing and prove himself in the world of hunters, both of which he strongly idealizes. Equipped with immense talent, power, and skill, he leaves the isolated island he was raised on to take the hunter exam and follow his dreams. What Togashi basically does here is make us believe that Gon, just as so many other popular shonen characters, will grow to become a warrior of justice, fighting for what is right. He gives us the impression that in this story, it will be easy to distinguish who are the good guys and who are the baddies wearing capes, just as we've been trained to expect from so many other stories from that generation. However, it quickly becomes clear that the world of Hunter x Hunter is quite cruel and unforgiving. Actions and mistakes have real consequences here, and Togashi basically uses Gon as a sort of literary guinea pig to see what would happen to your typical shonen hero if you were to throw them into a realistic world. And so, slowly but steadily, as we pass from arc to arc to get to see more and more of the world and Gon's interaction with it, it becomes clearer and clearer that what now separates Gon the most from other shonen protagonists is his increasingly skewed moral compass.
Yeah, I definitely got to laugh at this part. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. We'll see if he's got a good argument for this. But 9 times out of 10, anytime somebody starts talking about Gon's skewed moral compass, their argument's usually weak. Yeah, like before I say anything, I'll let him get back to the video and I'll give him a chance to see if it's at least logical. But we'll see. We'll give him a chance. All right, back to the video.
The fundamental lie that Gon believes about the world is that everything is either black or white, and that there is a clear line between good and evil. But since that is not how the real world works, where morality is mostly found on a spectrum of gray, Gon increasingly struggles to define what is good and what is bad based on the childish naivety that an 11-year-old simply has.
See, now there we go. See, that's why I was patient. That's why I didn't go off when I first heard him talking about the moral compass. Like what he just said right now was I totally agree with. But my only issue is in his wording, because to say it's a skewed moral compass would be to say that there is like something pathologically wrong with Gon's character, when that's just not the case. It's exactly as he said. He's a young child, and that's the naivety of a child, and that's the kind of thinking you would expect from a kid. It's a black and white thinking. The kid needs time to mature, which you could see Gon do through his experiences throughout the show. And by the end of it, you can even see that he starts questioning himself, and he kind of ends up where Killua was in the beginning of the story, after he loses his nen and all that, where he's now even Jin told him, now you have time to really, focus on yourself. So yeah, but the data he used, the evidence he used to back up his argument, good. The conclusion of his argument of skewed moral compass, don't agree with. Just say that I think the better representation would be, say, Gon's just a realistic kid, and he's not your typical shonen kid that's telling the adults what to do, which I can see is jarring for a lot of people. And I guess I can see how they can get to that skewed moral compass view, especially with that Alexander video. But for the most part, I feel like that Alexander video has been taken totally out of context by a lot of people. And even in his own video, like he does not really say, oh, he has a skewed moral compass. He just says, look, it's a naive child. Like, it's what you expect. He's a realistic kid, which is the perfect description other than a skewed moral compass. Like, you don't expect a kid to be seeing the world in shades of gray. And if they do, then that's kind of like, you'd be taken aback. Like, why is this kid thinking like that? So, no, like, Gon does not have a skewed moral compass. He has a perfectly fine moral compass. And as he gets older, it's going to be shaped. And back to the video.
And so, since objectively judging people's complex actions and behavior makes it very difficult to put them into one category or the other, Gon bases his morality on himself and his relationship with the person.
So, what he said here is interesting. And if you take it at face value, like, it sounds right? Like, if you just say, yeah, Gon bases his morality on his relationship with the person. Like, at face value, yes, that is a correct statement, and that is the truth, right? Like, generally, like, how a kid deals with complex topics, right? Like, that, all that is true. But where But if you look at it deeper, and where I would say he's wrong in his conclusion in this, is that it assumes that Gon has a conception of morality. You get what I'm saying? To say that he bases his morality in this, like it assumes that he is conceptualizing these ideas. See, now if you're talking about Killua, yes, I could agree to that. But what we saw in the show is that Gon is moving off the instinct the whole time. Like Gon is literally like Goku, right? And as you know, like, you know, Goku, yes, is the hero of the story of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, but Goku truly never intends to be the hero. Like he's looking for a good fight. I mean, obviously he's protecting his friends and family, but this isn't like a conscious thing. Like Goku isn't thinking, man, I have to save the universe. He's like, okay, an enemy's here. He's threatening my friends, and I have to stop that enemy. But his mindset isn't on philosophy, morals, right and wrong, right? Like it's just instinctual. Like he's protecting his family, and he likes to fight. So that's how he moves. And I think this aspect of Goku is brought out a lot better in Dragon Ball Super, and it wasn't shown as much as obvious in Dragon Ball Z. But that's definitely what Akira Toriyama wanted. And you can see that Gon is the perfect manifestation of that, where it's like Gon is moving off of instinct. Like, yes, like instinctually, he wants to do the right thing. But also instinctually, if the right thing contradicts what's going on with his friends, he's in a conundrum. Do you get what I'm saying? And so that's Gon's character. But he is not like sitting down and he hasn't philosophized and came up with this ideology. Like he's a young kid. He's moving off of instinct. So you can't say he based his morality off of that. To say that implies intent. But there's like, we know Gon's character. He intends nothing. Like, yes, he's a smart kid, but he's still a kid and he behaves as such, which is what kind of blows Killua. That's what Killua admires about him, that Gon just does things. Whereas Killua, he is very well thought out, well practical, like he's logical, like he thinks about all the repercussions. He sees the shades of gray because he sees it in his own family and the way he grew up and the things he had to do. So, yeah, so, and even this was even shown really good during I believe it was when they were in that game in Greed Island, where Gon would befriend somebody who was helpful to him, like, you know, Bino or whatever. Whereas I think there was where someone, and you know, he didn't think much about it. Like it was no philosophy. It was as simple as, well, you helped me, so you know, you're cool, right? Like he's not thinking about it. But then you see when Killua wanted to help some people, I guess it was I forgot, they caught the bombers and everybody wanted to hurt them and they had them tied up, and then everyone's like, well, they got to pay. And then Killua was like, well, if they got to pay, I got to pay because I've killed people. So like, how can I justify that? But you can see that when Killua comes to the conclusion, there's a logical thought process. Like he has thought about these things and he's pondered it, and he is basing his belief system off of real experience and not a feeling or emotion. And once again, this even comes to a head further in the show during the Chimera Ant arc, where Gon is flipping out. Like, how could we be nice to these people when they killed Kite, right? And Killua was just like, look, we have to think about this logically. We get it, they killed Kite, but if you think about this logically, one, hurting this person is going to hurt Kite. Two, he's not sure who Komugi is. Maybe she's innocent, maybe she's not. Let's not rush to things. Let's get it together. Killua was more logical. Like everything he does, he thinks about. Whereas Gon, like he doesn't, like he's a smart kid, but he never thinks about shit. It's all emotion. Like it's all emotion. So yeah, like I mean, honestly, you didn't really see Gon really pondering things until the end of the Chimera Ant arc, after he talks to Jean on the World Tree, and then he goes to Aunt Mito and he's talking about, yeah, how I met Jean, and had I had my Nen, I would have followed him, but since I didn't, I just didn't want to. Like you can see that he's really thinking about him, his place in the world, like everything that's happened, and you know, just life in general. Like he is maturing, like he's becoming a more complicated character. Not that he wasn't already, but now you see it, like it's just more in your face. But okay, back to the video.
People he's familiar with, such as Killua, Leorio, or Kurapika, are obviously good and worthy of his protection, while unfamiliar people dying during the Hunter exam are generally ignored and not considered as important. Meanwhile, people Gon is unfamiliar with, but that conduct acts of violence and cruelty, must obviously be bad. This can strongly be seen when Gon gets captured by the Phantom Troop, as he despises them for taking innocent lives unrelated to them. And at the same time, Gon also categorizes people based on whether or not they're useful to him or his friends. Next to his naivety, this selfishness is Gon's second major weakness as a character.
Okay, other popular complaint about Gon that he's selfish pops up again. You know, like I said, I think it's a whole lot of garbage, but I'll wait, watch the rest of the video, and see what he's got to say. See his argument, see what he brings. Maybe he brings a good one like last time. Let's see. All right, back to the video.
As a result, his morality appears to become increasingly skewed, where an objectively evil and twisted character like Beanold, who has massacred and eaten countless people, is actually thanked by Gon simply for helping him getting stronger.
This idea that Gon thanking Beanold for, helping him train, and that he shouldn't have done this because Beanold in his past had committed serious crimes is just a little ridiculous, right? Like, people use this all the time to show Gon's twisted morality. Yet I've never seen somebody use the fact that Gon literally wanted to maintain a relationship with Killua, even though he went and killed someone in cold blood at the end of the Hunter exams for no reason whatsoever, other than that he was psyched out by his brother. Nobody uses that. Yeah, they keep using this. Look, Gon's a little kid and he forgives easy. It's that simple. Like, it's not rocket science. Like, I don't understand how that proves some twisted morality. Like what do you want him to do? Like, judge, jury, executioner? Like, should he have just John canned Beanold into the grave? No, like, what's the point? They trained, he provided the service, and that was all in the past. That has nothing to do with Gon. So, like, how does him thanking somebody that just helped him, who he hasn't seen commit any dirty crimes, and as far as he knows is a solid guy, how does that make him immoral? That makes no sense. Like, it's the weakest argument I've seen in my life. The only thing, but yet the argument that could you say make Gon immoral is wanting to maintain the relationship with Killua despite knowing what he did in the Hunter exams and knowing the background of his family being assassins. Because in the beginning, like, look, Killua was a cold-blooded killer. He did it all the time. He would flip that switch. And at the same time, his family is from assassins, and he made no bones about it, and he told everybody. Yet nobody uses that as an argument for Gon being a psycho. Why? I wonder. Because everybody loves Killua. But, I digress. That's neither here nor there. But as I said, I think that Beanold argument is pure garbage. But whatever. People are going to keep using it. Back to the video.
To better understand this development in Gon, and how his story ultimately reached the dark climax it did, I think the best thing is to look at the central relationship between hero and opponent. I think it's pretty fair to say that Gon's relationship with Hisoka is to Hunter x Hunter what unnecessarily dramatic music is to this channel. Without it, it just wouldn't feel the same. So when we first get introduced to Hisoka, Togashi promises us the typical shonen good guy takes on bad guy relationship between him and Gon. Hisoka is a psychopathic clown and the apex of hedonism, who cuts off another contestor's arms simply for bumping into him right at the start of the Hunter exam.
Yeah, I remember first seeing that scene in the anime when Hisoka just willy-nilly cut dude's arm off and was just taking dudes out and thinking like, yo, this guy's some psycho. He's going to be the ultimate big bad. This is like the Orochimaru. And then it was like, just totally unreasonable, but it was kind of cool what they did with him in the future because he turned out to be extremely like pragmatic and reasonable. He just did, all his motivations was just to fight the strongest opponent, and he would, if it means to help anybody, he'll do that. If it means to hurt somebody, he'll do that. But he didn't, like, everything, like his motives and actions were actually logical. And when I say logical, I don't mean in that like it's the right thing to do or whatever, but logical in that I can follow his line of thinking, that he just wasn't some psycho raving maniac killer. Like, if to get a fight meant he had to be chill and cool out for a little while, like he did with Crollo, he'll do that. But if it meant he had to go crazy, like once again, like he did with the Phantom Troop after losing to Crollo, he'll do that. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. Like, you can follow his madness, which made him really cool. And then it kind of made him very fluid as a character in terms of good and evil. So he could be working with the good guys, trying to stop some evil guys. It didn't matter. Or he can work with the bad guys and trying to get in the way of the good guys. At the end of the day, he's just looking for a good fight. So yeah, back to the video.
He will stop at nothing to get what he wants, no matter the damage it does to himself or others. As a result, at the beginning of their relationship, Gon and Hisoka appear to be clear-cut opposites, right down to Hisoka's appearance as a scary, bloodthirsty clown, which as we all know is the mortal enemy of kids everywhere. Nonetheless, despite all their seeming differences, over the course of the story, both characters find themselves inextricably drawn to each other. What started off as our typical good hero versus evil opponent dynamic slowly blurs into an uncomfortable similarity between the two. Their shared desire to better themselves through combat and their ecstatic enjoyment of battle is nothing unique to Hunter x Hunter. However, most shonen tend to shy away from so blatantly highlighting this objectively problematic stance of their main character. Togashi, on the other hand, makes it easy to imagine a small misstep in Gon's life pushing him into a position similar to Hisoka's. And we can see this in the story in a number of ways. The best example for this, however, might be Hisoka's fight in the Heavens Arena against the overconfident Castro. Simply to prove his superiority and provide a show, Hisoka sacrifices both his arms to gain the upper hand, no pun intended, and to satisfy his desire to dominate and humiliate his opponent. Then, a little later, during the Greed Island arc, Gon mirrors this morbid sacrifice against the bomber Genthru. He abandons a carefully thought out plan by taking an explosive attack from Genthru, which results in him losing an arm, basically for no other reason but his desire to prove his superiority and humiliate his opponent.
I really liked what he said here, and he actually brought some new things into my perspective that I hadn't even thought about. Like you always knew like that Gon and Hisoka were similar in their battle lust and their love to, they want to get stronger and fight even stronger opponents, and they get off on it, right? And it stands out a lot in the show because not every character is in that mode. Like usually in most shonen battle animes, most of the characters are into that, but like in Hunter x Hunter, it's a few characters that are like that. That's Gon, Hisoka, and Netero. Like those are the three main guys that are just like, look, give me the strongest opponents. But then you got guys who are more chill, like Killua, his brother, just other characters who they're not all of that mindset of want to get strong, fight the strongest opponent, any means necessary, push myself to the limits, handicap myself type character. So that was definitely something I knew. But what he brought new to the table is just the similarities that Togashi put into the story, where Gon put his body on the line just like Hisoka put his body on the line just to test, their limits and what they can do. But the one place I will push back on is that he says Gon does it to dominate his opponent. Like, I'm sure like Hisoka does that. I mean, obviously he said that. Like, even honestly, I don't think it's to dominate the opponent. It's more to push their limits and, push past overwhelming odds. Because if they wanted to dominate, Hisoka in particular, if he wanted to dominate his opponents, like that, he wouldn't fight strong opponents. He'd just be a bully. But if you notice, he loses interest in people who are weak. You lose your nen, he doesn't care. Anything, he doesn't care. He'll do anything to get it back. He wants a challenging fight. So I don't know if like he wants to dominate the opponent as much as he wants to tear down someone's pride who thinks that they're truly strong. So I guess you could say dominate, but it's more like humiliate rather than dominate, I guess. Like he wants to see the pride cometh before the fall type of thing. But and then he kind of put that same thing on Gon, but I don't believe Gon really cares whether he humiliates or dominates his opponent. What Gon's about is just just proving how strong he is to himself and not wanting to be weak, which showed itself strongest when he failed the test to go to the NGL. So that showed like that his thirst for power wasn't to humiliate or dominate others. It was more to push himself and to never be weak. Like he just has this great fear of being weak, and it's as simple as that. But yeah, that's probably the only place I'd push back on. But yeah, that was definitely overall a really good assessment. Brought some new information to me. I liked it. And also I liked how he made note that this battle lust and thirst for power is more of a double-edged sword, because normally, like usually what he said in most shonen or standard, animes, it's more of seen as a strictly positive thing. But where in Hunter x Hunter, it shows you how it can be problematic, like how it can be an issue. So definitely really good take. So back to the video.
And so, in a weird way, Gon and Hisoka become more and more similar throughout the story, to the point where Hisoka almost functions as a sort of mentor for Gon, a dynamic that we'll be exploring in more detail in another video. Now, however, we can finally look at what Gon's character arc looks like overall. To summarize what we've been discussing so far, Gon's character arc shows us what happens to a naive 11-year-old boy that holds enormous physical power when he's increasingly confronted with the harsh and cruel reality of the real world. This is basically the coming-of-age storyline we know from other shonen, such as Naruto, only that Gon doesn't have a positive arc, but a negative one. Instead of growing more emotionally and morally mature, his character is slowly crushed by the brutal reality of the Hunter x Hunter world. This twist on the always rising shonen protagonist had not been explored in this much detail before, and has led to the very mature vibe Hunter x Hunter carries as a series. The premise for Gon's development throughout the story, as we've already discussed, are his naivety and his selfishness. Both of these things don't necessarily make him a bad person, but simply an inexperienced and overwhelmed child. Nonetheless, based on these weaknesses, Gon's character is set up to learn about the complex moral fabric of society and form a more realistic view of the world. This need is also moral, since through his basic moral compass and his naivety, combined with his enormous power, he starts to hurt people around him. However, it is not until the Chimera Ant arc that Gon completely spirals into a complete loss of his morality and ultimately his humanity.
So far this section was very good. I agreed with a lot of it. That's a couple things I want to push back on hard, in that he says Gon lost his morality and humanity. I don't agree at all. Like, I mean, I've seen this argument happen a lot. Like, this was the apex in the Chimera Ant arc. It's how Gon became some type of monster. I emphatically disagree, but before I lay down my own arguments, I'm gonna allow him to defend himself and see what he has to say in the rest of the video. So let's get back to it.
There are two events in particular towards the beginning of the arc that are representative for this change. The first is Gon's first ever kill in the story, a low-ranked armadillo chimera ant that bluntly attacks him and that Gon then slowly crushes to death. While it is definitely understandable that Gon defends himself and maybe even has to kill the chimera ant, the complete lack of reaction and emotional response to this act is what is truly shocking here. The pure Gon we got to know at the beginning of the story would never have been able to do such a thing, at least not without being deeply affected by it. And yet here, Gon has already been so consumed by power and violence that not only is he unshaken by his first kill, but he doesn't even give it a second thought.
Okay, this is where he went off the rails. Wow. I mean, this part has got to be, like, I don't even know where to start. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna break it down piece by piece. Literally, like, everything was horrible about this part, but we're gonna break it down piece by piece. So, okay, so he starts off by saying, "Oh, he slowly crushes the armadillo to death." Okay, well, you know what? Gon used all his power to crush him. He said this, like, maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but he said it as if Gon got like some type of sadistic enjoyment out of flexing his power and, you know, just taking his life, when that wasn't even the case. Like, Gon just put everything he had into it. The guy was attacking him and Gon defended himself. Like, it's not rocket science. I don't even know how you can even mention that as an interpretation, but maybe I'm reading too much into what he said, but I don't think so. Like, from what I can tell, he sounds like he thinks Gon was sadistic for slowly crushing him, even though Gon was just, you know, putting his, like, that's just the power that Gon had. Like, Gon is not God. Like, this isn't your typical shonen. Like, Gon cannot just overpower people easily, and, you know, he's not finger flicking people like Ichigo did Aizen. You get what I'm saying here? So, okay, now Next one, he said lack of reaction. Gon was shaking the whole time. Like, what do you mean a lack of reaction? Like, this whole event, like the whole time during the whole Chimera arc, like Gon was just stunned. Cause in Gon's world, everybody is nice. People don't do messed up things to other people. And he's like, he sees these things and they talk and they seem to have humanistic characteristics. And he's just trying to wrap his head around like, how can these guys just kill humans and just not care? Like, Gon could not understand that. And then like he would talk to the guys, and like it was just blowing his mind. So no, like I can't agree that there was no lack of reaction when that whole scene. Gon looked visibly startled, like he was thrown into like the wilderness, and you can tell like this wasn't your usual happy-go-lucky Gon jumping up and down, happy to get into a fight or whatever. Like this was like, yo, like this is real. Like he's seeing the darkness of the world for the first time. It's like how the psychologist or whatever, Jordan Peterson, like how he says when you take a farm boy from the Midwest and you throw him into the military, and then for the first time in his life he sees malevolence. Like he cannot understand that people can just be like do horrible things to other people just cause that's it, just cause it's fun, just for whatever reason. Like they just do it. Like Gon couldn't understand it. Just like with Uvagon, he could not understand it. This is a young kid. Like, I don't understand why people don't get this. Like, and they keep saying lack of reaction. Like, it was clear. Gon was like, yo, how could you? Every time, like, his eyes twitched. Where Kite and Killua, like, just anytime the ants would say some horrible, horrific thing, like, they just hear it and they're like, whatever. Because they understand the darkness of the world. They understand people can be malevolent. Whereas Gon would be like, what is wrong with you guys? Like that's in his head. He would think like, what is wrong with these guys? And he would twitch. Like Togashi showed it. Like his face would literally twitch. He'd have like an emotional reaction every time they talked and said just some wicked thing. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. And then this guy, like O'Hara, he starts saying, "Oh, Gon's a psycho," or like not that he's a psycho, but that he's drunk off power and violence. Gon didn't even like he just wanted a sparring match. He didn't even want it to the death. He as soon as he started, like he was like, so he's like, I think the guy said like it's to the death, and Gon was like shocked. He's like, what, a fight to the death? Like he couldn't even comprehend that. He's like, well, he's like, what do you mean? Like, what if someone wants to surrender? And then the whole ants they all just laughed at him. And he's like, no, this is to the death. When I beat you, I'm going to feed you to the queen. And then even then, after that, Gon goes, all right, whatever. Well, if you beat me, fine. But if I beat you, you can surrender. It's okay. You don't have to die. I don't want to have to kill you. And the guy just laughs at him even harder. And then like, it's like, what do you mean? Like, you cannot say, attribute like just this evil character to Gon just because this is a realistic anime. Like, this isn't Naruto. Like, this isn't Talk no Jutsu. Like, everything doesn't work out. It's not like roses and like, this isn't roses are red, violence are blue. Like, this is a young man being put into the dark world of hunters. Like, this is what it is, and like, that's a part of it. And then people always make this quote, like, nobody has a reaction when people die. That's because these are the lives of hunters. Like, I don't understand why no one has understood this yet. In the world of hunters, violence is understood. Like, these things are expected. It's a part of it. It's a dangerous world. This isn't like, it's like military. Like, it's like they're always in a war zone in a way. So for whatever reason, people zone in on Gon as if he's some type of psycho when every character does the same thing. Killua doesn't flinch at that. Nobody flinches at it. Like, but everybody looks at Gon like he's evil. No, if anything, Gon is probably the most innocent out of everybody. But what you can see is he is becoming more accustomed to the world around him. Like, he is understanding that there is malevolence in the world. Like, I don't understand this. So no, like, he gave the man an out. So he was not. This wasn't off of power and violence or whatever he said it was. And then on top of that, before Gon even fought the guy, the armadillo guy goes, "Oh, this is what we're gonna do." He's like, let me tell you something. You know why we kill humans? It's not because we want to eat them or we need to feed. It's cause it's fun. And then even the way Togashi drew it and the way they had it in the manga, like the guy just looked sadistic. Like he was a psychopath. Like he there was just nothing there. It's like this character was kind of like, this was almost a stepping stone for going into the real world. Like, there are some really messed up people in this world, and this guy is one of them. And no, you being nice to them changes nothing. And that's what it was. Like, the guy was a psycho. And then he follows this up by saying, oh, well, Gon is consumed by power and violence. Like, really? Like, are you kidding me? Give me a break. Look, first of all, after Gon did that, so the thing goes to the side, okay? Killua steps up to fight, and then one of the other ants comes in and fights or whatever. And then when the ant comes, he's like, I'm not gonna be like that trash. He says that to Killua, and then Gon once again, they say, oh, lack of reaction. Gon totally reacts to that, and he's like, he flinches, and he's just like, what? Even for a cycle, he feels like compassion for in a way. And he goes, how do you call this person trash? This person is your friend. Gon says this clearly. Like, and then the guy just laughs Gon off. Like, he's weak. I'm 10 times stronger. Gon is not even getting off on power. As a matter of fact, he's the exact opposite. He's like, how can you judge your friend on the basis of their power? Whether weak or strong, he's your friend. You should respect him. You should respect all people. That's Gon. So I don't know what this drunk off power and violence. I'm telling you, ever since that Alexander video, like, everybody just manipulates like, they've gone back, rewatched Hunter x Hunter, in every scene they've manipulated it in a way to get to position Gon in the worst light. Swear it on my life. And then, like he said, Gon never gave it a second thought. Look, if I get in a fight with you and you saying you're gonna kill me, and I tell you, well, okay, you can kill me, but if I beat you, you don't have to die. Like, I'll let you go, and then you tell me you don't give. Like, I don't know what you want from Gon. Like, what do you want? Like, it's like if you're not Naruto or Deku or something, then it's like you're evil. No, like, this is a realistic character. This is a naive young man maturing in this dark world. Like, that's what it is. Like, basically all his childish ideals. Normally in a shonen anime, these childish ideals holds true. Like, they can always get away with it. Like, even in the Avatar, spoiler coming. Like, when Aang didn't want to kill the Fire Lord, and so the writers came up with a plot device that helped Aang take away his bending. So voila, Aang can be an innocent little kid and not have to murder. Well, guess what? In the real world, there is no plot device, and that's kind of how Hunter x Hunter is. There is no plot device for Gon. Like, this is reality. Like, there are just maniacs in the world, and he could not understand it, and that's what he was wrestling with this whole time in this arc. In the Chimera Ant arc in particular, and you see that descent is the descent isn't necessarily Gon going dark as much as Gon losing his innocence. One might say, okay, losing your innocence is going dark, but I would disagree, because as we all get older, we lose our innocence. Hey, one day we believe in Santa Claus. Well, guess what? Santa Claus isn't real, okay? Maybe you think, oh, well, me and all my friends, we're all gonna make it. Well, guess what? As you go through life, so you realize this friend might become a drug addict. This person might become this. You realize you can't help the whole world. You can't do this. Like, as you get older, is to become more realistic, and that's what you're seeing with Gon. Like, his ideology is slowly rotting away in this world. And the greatest example of this innocence coming into clash with the world of hunters, the dark world that Gon's in, is that is when Kite died, and Pito's doing all these puppet stuff with Kite's body and whatever, and then Gon is working out with Killua, getting ready for his date with Palm, and then Killua was like, oh, Gon, how are you so calm? And he's like, and then Gon goes like, with the biggest Gon smile, that shonen positivity, that energy, Gon's radiating, the sun is shining on his face. It's beautiful. And Gon goes, because I know Kite's alive and we're gonna save him. And then Killua was like, Gon, you are light. And then it flips later, and then as it flips, it shows Kite's head rolling after Pito gets done playing with it, and that was beautiful writing. It was a total and complete deconstruction of the shonen main character that always gets it done, and it was beautiful. So people need to stop trashing Gon for this and just understand that Gon is realistic, not wicked. He's going through trauma in this world, and that's what it is. So yeah, back to the video.
And even more impactful for his character is the death of his mentor Kite, who is killed by the Royal Guard Pitou. This first ever loss of a loved person affects Gon deeply, way more than is common for typical shonen characters. Much rather, Gon has a very realistic and human response to this event, and develops a rage and thirst for revenge against Pitou that is honestly quite unsettling to watch.
Yeah, his overall take over on that section wasn't too bad. I'd agree with some of it. You know, Gon's reaction was very realistic. It wasn't your standard shonen BS. But I do feel like he diminishes who Kite is to Gon. Like, he says that Kite was Gon's mentor, but it's deeper than that. Honestly, to Gon, Kite was a father figure. Like, Kite was Gon's first male role model, like someone that Gon could look to become. You know, like, Gon loved his Aunt Mito, as we clearly saw when he had no interest in finding out who his mother was, because he felt like it, in a way, be an insult to his aunt, and so it was totally irrelevant, right? So that shows the kind of love he had for his aunt. But Aunt Mito isn't the person that, you know, Gon could look to aspire to be. You know, Gon never had, you know, like, he just never had a father. Like, it's that simple, you know? And Kite was that. Kite, like, I mean, even though it was for a bit, but when Gon meets Kite, like, Kite becomes everything Gon wants to become. Like, Kite is not only that, like, since Kite revealed to Gon that, like, he knew his father, like, to Gon, like, Kite was the closest thing to his father, right? So this is that connection. Like, Kite was that. And so I feel to diminish Kite as just some mentor makes it too small, and it kind of demeans what Gon was going through. And in a way, Hunter x Hunter speaks to a fatherless child and just the kind of guidance that they need. And that is exactly, you know, and that's Gon. Where if you see someone like Killua, he has male role models all over: his father, his grandfather, even when they went into Komagi, like, who was there to talk to Gon to calm him down? Nobody. Whereas Kite, when Killua walks in during the dragon dive, and then his granddad is there, he's like, "Oh, hey, granddad," and then, you know, his granddad goes to him and says, "Look," you know, gives him some words of wisdom. It's like, you know, the choice is yours or whatever. And so it got Killua thinking, like, hey, what's going on? No, Gon never had that. Yeah, Killua was looking out for Gon, but Gon, like, that wasn't, like, Killua was a child. They're just friends. It's the blind leading the blind. So, yeah, no, like, Kite is more than just a mentor. Like, in a way, Kite is like the father Gon never had. And also, Gon would be dead if it wasn't for Kite, because he saved him from that bear or whatever. Now, mind you, maybe Ohara hasn't read the manga. Maybe he only watched the 2011 anime, and I think that's a lot of people. So, or like, he didn't do the research into it, you know, in the Hunter x Hunter universe, because I mean, a lot of people mention it. So yeah, so sometimes it could be missed, but yeah, you know, like, that's what it is. So back to the video.
As a result, his final act in the arc is one of the most notorious events in shonen manga. He uses the heavily injured and innocent Komugi as a mere tool to blackmail Pitou, giving no second thought about the overall situation and threatening to kill her. Once he learns that Kite is beyond help, in order to satisfy his wrath against Pitou, he calls upon all of the potential energy he will ever have for a short bout of combat, where he brutally kills his opponent without a single shred of remorse.
Okay. And now, my friend, we have reached critical mass. My head has exploded. Okay? The Komugi parts, you know, fine, whatever. But the part that makes my head explode is what he said about Pitou. Look, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to take it down in order. So we're going to start with Komugi. First of all, number one, this was a war. Okay? Like, context is everything. Like, everybody talks about this Komugi situation and they completely throw out the context and they make it sound like Gon was just walking out the gym, doing some, let's say some Brazilian jiu-jitsu training with Conor McGregor, and he's like la-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da, and he sees Komugi and Pito there, and they're just hanging out, and then he decides to hold her hostage. No, context. Okay, let's bring it into context. First of all, like I said, they're in a war. Number one, they're in a war, okay? His goal is to take out the enemy. They're not there to have a picnic. They're not there to make friends. Okay, so he walks into the room, and all he knows is these psychopaths, ants. Like, he has not met a good one. He didn't really know Ikago like that. And then there was the other guy who kind of helped him. So, at this point, you can tell Gon is mentally unstable because he just, like I said earlier, he is trying to deal with the malevolence of the world, and he just cannot comprehend everything that's going on. So you have this young kid whose world is coming down. He'd seen that Kite was used, abused, and played with like a puppet, and he sees the person, the singular cause of all of that, the apex of everything wrong in the world as far as Gon is concerned, sitting there, and as the second he sees him, he is ready to let off. Remember, this girl has killed his master, his father figure. This girl has killed hundreds of humans, like just so many. Pito was always a part of she was also a part of the genocide they were trying to do in the NGL, where they were using all those hundreds, like I think it was 500,000 people as a sacrifice to the king, and Gon was well aware of that. And then she was associated with all these psychopaths that he just seen killing senselessly and mercilessly, and even killing their own friends. Like they broke every code that Gon believes in, right? That's the kind of person that he's walking in on, and he sees her. And then if anybody gets mad at me saying her, I'm sorry. Look, I don't know. Like, it looks like a girl. Okay. Could be a guy. I'm going to use her. It's just easier. It keeps things simple. But yeah, he sees her healing Komugi, right? He sees her and he just can't comprehend. Just like with Uvogon, right? Remember, when Nobunaga was sad about Uvogon's death and he's crying, and Gon flips. He's like, how can you be mad about your friend dying when you kill people for no reason? How? He couldn't understand it. He doesn't he cannot understand how people can compartmentalize these things, And so now he sees this, and even I went down the list of everything Pito has done, and he's looking at her. And he's like, "You're really healing this person? Like, who is this person?" And then also, once again, context number 2, Gon has no clue who Pito is. He doesn't know who she is. Like, people keep talking about it. We as the viewer have a bird's eye view of the situation. Gon is in it. I mean, and so would anyone assume, let me say this. Why should Gon assume that Pito is innocent? Not Pito, Komugi is innocent if Pito is the epitome of evil to Gon, right? Like, this is like Hitler times 10, right? The epitome of evil cares enough to heal her. Like, how's that gonna register? Clearly, maybe in Gon's head, Komugi's evil too. That's what I'm getting at. Like, this show is so much more complicated, and people are oversimplifying it into regular shonen standards when this show breaks all shonen standards. So you can't use the standards from My Hero Academia, where we got everybody loves Deku, and Deku always makes the right decision, and Deku's also perfect, and the world works out for Deku. No, that's not the situation here. Okay, it's more complicated than that. And then, okay, context number 3. Gon was weaker than Pito. He stood no chance. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Nada. He was weaker. Like, if he doesn't hold Komagi as hostage, he is dead. His only option for survival is to hold Komagi as hostage. Hell, like, he should have just snapped and killed what's her name, Pito, while she was healing Komagi. Like, he should have done it. That was the right move. Okay? Like, him and Killua, like, there was no hunter on the planet that could beat Pito. Maybe Netero, and that's it. Like, at least at this point in the story. I mean, obviously we know what happens when we get the Zodiac 12 or whatever when they come in. But look, at this point in the story, nobody could stand with the ants. They were just so overpowered. So yes, like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Gon had to do what he had to do. And then also, I can't believe I almost forgot this. Look, okay? People keep saying, oh, Gon, how could he? He threw his Nan and his future away just to kill Pito for revenge. Oh man, what a psycho. Okay. You think he's a psycho for that. All right, I got you. So first of all, let's start with this. Let's eliminate all the sadistic things that Pito did, from, just playing with Kite's dead body, messing with Paco's brain, just committing wholesale genocide. Let's table that. Let's just go to what she did in that moment. So first of all, Gon could have killed her like a long time ago. He said she took her, didn't even really take her at her word, but he gave it a shot. He gave it a shot when Killua calmed him down and let her live to heal Komagi. She got what she wanted. She healed Komagi, right? She got that chance. Komagi's healed, and he put Komagi under the protection of Killua. Okay, they leave. They get alone, and then once they get alone, he took her to the body. Now they're looking at Kite's body, Gon's thinking this whole time, maybe he can be healed. Maybe he can be healed. Remember, these are kids, man. Remember, what's the saying? Never lie to a kid. Maybe he can be healed. Oh, she gets there, and then she looks at Gon, and she's like, oh, actually, I think even before that, she got the phone call from Shia Poof, telling her that Komagi's safe and in his hands. So now she's feeling really bold and powerful. But let's keep it moving. So she looks at Gon, and she goes, Gon, he's dead. It's like, what? He's dead. Oh, okay. That's step one. So clearly she, it's like she was lying, right? Saying, oh yeah, I could bring him. She knew he was dead. She killed him. She knew he was dead. Okay, fine, whatever. That's one. So she lied to stall for time. Okay, that's one. Then two. Right? This is two. Like, as Gon is breaking down, and during this breakdown, Gon is blaming himself, blaming her, blaming himself, blaming everybody. But really, at the end of the day, he starts blaming himself. But as he's breaking down, she could have easily just at least tried to heal Kite, to soothe Gon. You know what I'm saying? To just say, oh, to empathize with the kid, because she kind of ruined his life a little bit. But no, what does she do? She heals her hand. She heals her hand. And then Gon caught on to this. Like, it was great writing. He's like, because Gon was like, oh, she can heal him. She's healing him. Oh, she can bring him back to life. And he's like, what? You're healing your hand? She's healing her hand? And you can see he's going through a mental breakdown. Like, the dark, like, he's giving up on the world in that moment. Like, how can someone be so self? Like, this is so antithesis to who Gon is, right? Like, Gon, like, this is just something like Gon can't comprehend. But okay, so that's two. We haven't even gotten done yet. Like, Gon gets done bawling like a baby, going through a mental breakdown. Like, just he can't. The world is tearing him down from all corners. The walls are closing in. And then finally, when he gets a little bit of stability, he's like, it's my fault. Oh my God. This, what, had the audacity to step to Gon and say, Gon, I'm sorry, but I have to kill you. It was like, oh, really? Oh, word? That's what we're doing? Yes! Gon made that contract. Like, he gave, like, if you go back and watch that scene, Gon gave up on revenge. So, yes, he made that contract. And then once he made that contract, hey, it was on and popping after that. Like, what did you want him to do? She said she's going to kill him. And she was very capable. She was not, like, bro, I can't believe, like, this, Gon, like, it's like, this is victim blaming. This is victim blaming to the max. Like, Gon was the victim in this whole situation. He threw it all away. And it was rightfully, because if he didn't do it, he was dead. If he did do it, he dies. But at least he kills her. He kills Pito and takes her out, which would save the world, stop the mission, complete his mission, and all those things, which he did. Like, by him doing that, it helped. Okay, so yeah, these guys, I don't know what this guy's talking about. Like, he made it seem like that contract is some psycho thing. That contract is all Gon had. Now, had they been smart, they would have just took Pito out when she was healing Komugi. But, it is what it is. Can't go back in time. What's done is done. Gon did what he had to do. Back to the video. And then on top of that, man, it was his mission to kill Pito. So, like, it was him and Killua were assigned to get Pito. And then, Knuckles' group was assigned to Yuppie. And then Netero was going to get the king. I forgot who was supposed to get Shio Poof. But, I just hate how people make it seem like what Gon did was just some psychotic thing. They always take it and look at it from the most negative light possible. But it is what it is. Like, back to the video. And let's finish this out.
In doing so, he trades the rest of his life for one short moment of violence, as the horrified Killua is unable to do anything but watch. It's some of the most harrowing reading or watching in the genre, a perverse version of Goku's Spirit Bomb. This is Gon's moment of moral choice. But instead of having a self-revelation about what it means to be human and how to behave justly and morally towards others in the situation, he gives in to his worst instincts.
So, here, I mean, you heard my last long spiel on this. I mean, it's along the same lines. He calls Gon a monster, and I'm like, I don't know, for what? Look, you guys know my feeling on that. And then also, he says like that. He had a moral choice and he did the wrong choice. And, that he became less human and became okay. First of all, like this is annoying on multiple different fronts. The first front is that somehow that monstrosity isn't a part of humanity. Not saying that Gon is monstrous, but even then, like just that humanity is somehow some kumbaya. Let's sit around in a circle with a fire burning between us in the lotus position. No, like that's not the case. Like if a human exhibits a certain behavior, then that behavior is human. It's that simple. Like it's a human behavior. Like you can't separate that. Like you can't separate the yin from the yang. Like I feel like people just do that too much. They separate. They try to say, that's not possible. Like it's like when they did that experiment, the electric shock experiment, to see how far, like what would it take to get someone to just do something quote unquote inhumane. And for the most part, it wasn't that hard to get a bunch of regular people to do inhumane things. I mean, look at Nazi Germany, look at Rwanda, look at all these things. Like the idea that, wow, that is just somehow not human. No, that is human. That is it. Like just as a human can be kind, a human can be totally and completely like we are as much benevolence a human can do. They're capable of equal malevolence, which is another big part of Hunter x Hunter. I don't know why people can't see this. It's like when Netero does the rose bomb, like he says, like you don't know the malice of a human. Like, you don't understand it. Like, people just, they have to get away from the black and white, good and evil that you see in other animes. This anime is deep. This anime is thought-provoking. It is not meant to be simple. It's meant to make you second guess. Like, no, Gon is not like, Gon is like, he is showing you, like, Gon is the extreme of the yin and the yang. When he is like, and when I say, I don't want to say like he can be as kind as he can be, as hard as he can go for his friends. He can be equally ruthless in his judgment. It's like in like the Bible or whatever. It's like, you know, like he's equally a vengeful, wrathful God, or as he is kind. You get what I'm saying? Like, people only want to look at good and they want to throw away all judgment, all bad. There was nothing immoral about what he did to Pito. Nothing. That was judgment. Simple. That was judgment. What she did was wrong. She carried herself in the worst way possible. She could have changed. Like, she had plenty of opportunities to change. She didn't. It's that simple. And even in her last, like, and they saw him, well, she was nice to Komagi. She didn't care about Komagi. She cared about the king. If the king said kill Komagi, she would have killed Komagi. It was that simple. There was no morals there. And Gon gave her just desserts. And every single blow was so good to watch. He beat the brakes off of her. Thank you, Gon. We did not want any more talk no jutsu. The cycle is broken. The greatest shonen protagonist ever. Thank you. All right, y'all. That's it. I mean, there's more to the video. You can go check out his vid. I'll leave a link in the description. I've said all I have to say. Overall, he had some good points. He brought a new, different perspective on some of them, but he kind of falls into the whole Gon is evil camp, you know, or whatever. We're not here for that. At least I'm not here for that. I think Gon's one of the best characters in the show. He's a very dynamic character, and he's unique in that it's the first time that you get to see a shonen protagonist not be able to bend the world to his will and actually have to deal with the consequences of their decisions, and just be truly helpless and see how they react to their weakness and helplessness, rather than just being like, well, because I'm me and I have the power of friendship and we're gonna blow through this and then everything's gonna work out and it's all good. You know, we're like, that's been played out, is dried and it's tired. And Gon was a fresh take on the shonen male lead protagonist, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, dope character, dope story, and the video was pretty good too, honestly. So yeah, check that out. The link to this video is in the description. That's it. See y'all next time. Peace.